Go.
Every 73 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. Hi, my name is Destiny Gray, and today I want to talk about the prevention of sexual assault and what it is. I watch Law & Order SVU all day, every day. It's basically the background story of detectives from the NYPD who investigate and report any type of sexual crimes. Sexual assault can be described as any act or anything that occurs where someone is touched, either physically or emotionally, without any consent. Younger people are at higher risk of being sexual assault. And during this speech, I'm going to explain to you guys what sexual assault is, how it occurs, and how it can be prevented. Sexual assault can be described as a non-sexual act, whether it is from the federal law, state law, or any government law, where someone who is not in consent. In the beginning, rape was described as a property crime. It was the victim was never the actual victim. The father or the husband was the victim, because the women were the property of the father and husband. It wasn't until the late 80s where women were seen as the actual victims of sexual acts or crimes. The legal age of consent was 10. So at 10 years old, women could consent to sexual acts, and it would be okay for them to be raped or sexually assaulted, anything of that nature. The actual word rape comes from the Latin word rapiere, which means to seize, which is why they weren't in control of their bodies and why they were seen as property to their husbands or their fathers. It wasn't until like the 11th or the 12th century where the victims, the women, were seen as the actual victims of the crime. And it wasn't until the 18th century where black women could actually say they were raped and accuse their rapists. The anti-rape movement emerged, and it wasn't really until like full effect until the 1960s. And prior to 1961, marital rape wasn't a thing. So before 1961, it was okay for your spouse or your significant other to rape you. There was no legal allegations that could occur. It was okay, it was fine. And in 2001, that is when the month of April became known the Sexual Assault Awareness Month in 2001. So ever since then, every April is Sexual Awareness Month. How can it occur? Just because you were not raped does not mean you were not sexually assaulted. There are multiple ways that sexual assault can occur. It can be forcibly solemn, you can be raped, you can be unwanted sexual contact, unwanted sexual touch, incest, anything of that nature. It can occur from a family, a friend, your spouse, an acquaintance. It can occur from either any type of drug or alcohol. Felicitations. You should always know the signs. Sometimes it's not always going to be visible. Maybe you're in an abusive relationship. Maybe someone's stalking you. Doesn't automatically mean you're going to be raped. You just know the signs and be aware of your surroundings and who you're with. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to men, it can happen to women. 1 in 33 men are raped, and 1 in 6 women are raped. 1 in 6 women. Transgender students are at the highest risk of being raped, even more higher than women and men. 21% of transgenders are raped compared to 18% of non-transgender women and 3% of non-transgender men. There are many preventable actions that can occur to prevent this. The law should be, currently each state has different laws of what exactly sexual assault and how it occurs and how people are prosecuted, things of that nature. But I believe that every state should have the same laws when it comes to sexual assault. Sexual assault does not change state by state. If you sexually assaulted someone in one state, it should be the same charge if you sexually assault someone in the same state. It's like letting someone getting away with something. You know, if I can go rape someone in New York, but I can go get away with the rape in Massachusetts maybe. Like, you know, you still raped someone, you still sexually assaulted someone. It's just like saying like the victim, you don't care about the victim type of thing. You should always bring awareness. Recently, there has been the Me Too movement that was started in 2006 that wanted to raise awareness for any women of minorities to help them come together and find a place of healing. We should always take accountability of our actions. In November 2017, one of the NBC hosts, Matt Lauer, was fired for an 2-month ongoing investigation of several sexual assaults allegations that occurred from him for many women around the show. And Kevin Spacey was fired for an alleged sexual harassment against a 14-year-old from his co-star. And I believe that sexual violence should be taught in our schools at a young age, just like sexual education. We should start young and bring up our kids, being aware of what sexual assault is, just like we teach in schools what sex education is. You know, some people may sexually assault someone because they're not comfortable in their sexual environment, who they are, and stuff like that. We should have an open communication. It should be a safe space. We should openly talk about sexual assault and how it occurs and how it can be prevented, just so to educate everyone. In conclusion, you know what sexual assault is and how it can be prevented. I've been sexually assaulted, and I want and need the perpetrators to be accountable for their actions. And there should be strategies that everyone should know that we can implement for change. We should build healthy attitudes towards sex, sexuality, and gender. There should be no shame for being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. It doesn't matter. Everyone gets sexually assaulted, and it shouldn't matter just because you're a different race or gender that you're targeted for being that. Now I'll explain what sexual assault is, how it occurs, and how it can be prevented. Now I want to ask you guys, have you ever been sexually assaulted, or have you ever seen someone being sexually assaulted? We have to educate ourselves and think back and prepare for the future. Change the world. We need to shatter the stigma of sexual assault to change society for the better. Thank you. Bye.
I might have to hang out with me, cuz let's shoot your pants hang.